As the nation rolls back federal COVID-19 mandates, President Biden is planning a major shift in U.S. border policy.
In May, his administration is expected to lift the pandemic-era emergency rule known as Title 42. The policy has allowed U.S. immigration authorities to quickly expel immigrants and asylum seekers to stop the spread of COVID-19. The rule has blocked nearly 2 million people from crossing the border since it was enacted during the Trump administration in March 2020. Several state and local officials worry that ending Title 42 could cause a surge of immigrants to overwhelm the border in the processing facilities.
CBS News immigration reporter Camilo Montoya-Galvez joins us now to discuss more. Hi, Camilo. So great to have you with us here on set. Tell us a little bit about the timing of this, because this is not a new issue. Title 42 has been reviewed by the CDC since August every 60 days. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
So why now?
There are several reasons. One of them is that pandemic conditions have improved since the last review of this policy back in January, when the coronavirus was spreading rapidly and there was a sharp increase in hospitalizations and cases across the country. And remember that the stated public health rationale for this policy is to reduce the transmission of COVID inside border facilities. And in an order earlier in March, the CDC acknowledged the drop in cases since January, as well as increased vaccination rates both here in the U.S. and in migrants' home country. The other reason is that a court order will require border officials starting in April to stop using Title 42 to expel migrant families traveling with children to places where they could be persecuted or harmed in other ways. So the public health justification for this policy, which has always been contested by Democrats and public health experts, may be less strong now, and the policy is also under legal scrutiny.
So what is the Department of Homeland Security doing to prepare for this possible spike in immigrants?
That's a very important question. Right now, as we speak, Meg, border officials are encountering an average of 7,000 migrants per day. That is an astonishing number that is currently straining the government's processing capacity along the Mexican border. But Department of Homeland Security officials tell us that that number could increase to between 12 and 18,000 migrants per day.
Per day.
That would be an unprecedented spike in migrant arrivals that would force the federal government to dispatch hundreds and thousands of federal employees to the border, to double the number of buses and airplanes that are used to transport migrants, and to expand the Customs and Border Protection capacity at its holding sites. So DHS tells us that they are currently preparing for a sharp increase in the number of migrants and have already deployed thousands of Border Patrol agents. And on Monday, the department started to vaccinate thousands of migrants in border custody. And they expect to be able to vaccinate as many as 6,000 migrants starting in late May, when this policy is set to be terminated.
So to follow up on your point on the surge in migrants, we know midterms are coming up. We know that immigration is a hot button issue. So how could this affect the midterms, especially in battleground states like Arizona?
Yeah, the political dynamic playing out over this policy is very complicated right now for the Biden administration. On one hand, you have high-profile Democrats, including Majority Leader Chuck Schumer and Senator Bob Menendez, call on the administration to end this policy, which they believe is an illegal Trump-era relic. On the other hand, you have Republican lawmakers broadly supporting this policy, and they have already been accusing the administration of lax border enforcement. But in recent days, you have centrist Democrats from border states and border districts, including Senators Sinema and Kelly from Arizona, call on the CDC to continue these expulsions. They're joining Republicans in these calls. So it is a tricky situation for the administration politically, but I would be remiss if I didn't reiterate that this measure was always supposed to be temporary and that the government would have to end it at some point.
Good point. Camilo Montoya-Galvez, thank you so much for your excellent reporting. Always great to have you with us.
Thank you.